This episode of Hero Club is supported by our good friends over at Mage Hand Press. Check them out at magehandpress.com and buy their High Seas supplement for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition to Shanghai your own group of adventurers. If you like Hero Club, remember to rate and review on your preferred platform and tell your friends.
Welcome to Hero Club. I'm Nick Williams.
And I am George Primavera.
George and I have been playing D&D together for years.
Now, a lot of people think you need to be a big, huge nerd boy to play Dungeons & Dragons.
But in reality, you just have to be willing to spend 4 hours of your own time on a weekday trashed on cheap beer cross-legged around a coffee table.
I lost a game of Flip Cup in 2012, so I had to buy all the books and learn how to be Dungeon Master. My dad was disappointed.
Yeah, he was. But after a game or two, we realized that it's actually a really fun and effective way to tell an awesome story.
Yeah, it's like long-form improv, but you kill more people.
Here's what you need to know. George creates a world and the framework for a cool story.
And the players, like Nick, create characters beforehand, all with special abilities, sometimes magical, sometimes not, and they adventure through the story as best they can, trying not to die.
We, the players, roll dice to see if our improvised actions fail or succeed, trying to beat a number in George's head that he promises he doesn't change at will.
But at the table, I am God, my game, my rules.
Okay, so it's as nerdy as you thought. You know what? Just off, man.
Whoa,
right off,
all right,
okay?
Nick, maybe don't tell everybody to F off. And it's not that nerdy. I mean, we get rid of all that stupid math, and we add music and sound effects and stuff like that, so, you know, it's cool.
Anyway, these stories do follow a linear plot, so if you want to know what's going on, start at the beginning of any season you like and have fun with it.
Without further ado,
welcome to Hero Club! Yeah!
The old wives' tale found itself deep in uncharted waters, with ghosts at its back and mystery ahead. It was on the island of the Red Fruit that Drake Muldoon and his crew realized just what the true scope of things was. And it was bigger than they could have ever imagined.
a week has passed. The old wives' tale travels across open water, heading eastward. Despite their recent surplus, the crew requires lots of food and clean water. Clean water is not so hard to come by, as long ago, Vivian and Lilia created a process for taking ocean water and turning it into clean drinking water. Food is another story. As Drake Muldoon travels below deck, the gurgling of stomachs echoes on the old wood, and Drake finally reaches Vivian's cabin. Bastian and Vivian await him inside, staring at the diamond that is held aloft by the chains, swinging gently from the ceiling.
Knock, knock.
It's unlocked.
Drake pushes into the small room.
Captain, how much longer the three of us gotta have these nightly meetings inside me cabin? It's been a week of the two of you coming down here, and I told you I like me privacy.
Well, until we get a better idea of what it is, we have a standing arrangement, unfortunately.
Listen, Captain, I ain't no stranger to dark magic. Magical objects and artifacts, doodads, sucking you in, making you want to come look at them, touch them. I mean, come on, look around me cabin. Not too long at that! Vivian excitedly points at one mask of a gazelle's face before moving on. If this gem has the two of you coming down here cause it wants you to, you can tell old Vivian.
Bastian shoots a worried glance over to Drake.
Vivian, you know that the captain and me of all people are not tempted by the dark magics.
Vivian holds up a finger, and too quick to notice, a wry smile flashes across his face. Now, don't get your knickers in a knot, Bastian. You don't have to admit it to me, and I don't need to go fiddling around in either of your minds to know. But if the feeling eats at you more, gets worse, give us a heads up, eh?
I'll make a note of it. But aside from all that, we need to figure out what we're going to do with the salted thing. I mean, we can't just keep running forever.
Aye, and you know me, normally I'd be gung-ho to sell it to the highest bidder. But this rock, it's something different.
Phylactery is nothing to be trifled with. We have to be careful. Can't get back into that sow's dirty hands. Drake looks at the phylactery with a worried expression on his face. Ever may she reign.
As Drake looks at it, he focuses in a little bit, and notices a small scuff where there wasn't one before. As he moves in just a little bit closer, being careful to keep at least a few inches between his nose and the gem's face, he finally makes out just what it is. A small crack. And even as he's looking at it with his eye, millimeter by millimeter, incredibly slowly, the crack is expanding, deep within the diamond.
Oh, did you notice the crack?
Yes. What do you make of it?
Vivian, make an Arcana check.
15. Well, Captain, can't say for sure, but remember how Bosch, that blackjack, threw himself into the pit what the diamond was being kept in?
How could I possibly forget?
I think it needs, like, a living sacrifice. I think it's getting hungry.
Well then, Vivian, in your opinion, do we have to feed it? Or can we starve it?
Well, those two halfwits in me cabin what touched it might have bought us some time. We could try starving it, but I've seen that go very, very wrong.
Well, looks like we've got to find it a meal.
Right, well, the ship's got penguins galore. Let's feed it one of them.
Vivian, we're not going to do that, and you know it. But if the last few days have been any indication, I'm sure we'll find a meal for it soon enough. I suggest we keep this under wraps from the rest of the crew. Save for Lilia, of course. Wouldn't want to startle anyone.
Up in the crow's nest, Lilia is lazily looking out to sea, when suddenly, way out on the horizon, there's a small bump. And it begins to grow larger as the ship continues to travel east, until Lilia finally makes out an island, the first one that the crew has seen in days.
Excitedly, Lilia pulls a tube out from underneath the banister and shouts into it.
Captain, everyone, land! Land ho! It's right over there! There's an island! It's a big one!
Back down in Vivian's quarters, Lilia's voice is reverberating around the room thanks to a gramophone-shaped object up in the ceiling, one of many throughout the ship.
Get up!
I guess that's meeting adjourned. And Drake excitedly pushes through the door and runs up to the top deck, followed by Bastion and Vivian.
It's due northeast, Captain. Look, right there.
Drake pulls a spyglass out of his pocket and hones in on the island.
In the early hours of the dawn, you can only see silhouettes, but you do see towering trees, a very good sign for food.
That hunk of rock has got to have fruit. I'd bet my tail spot on it. Kip, make for the island. North by northeast.
Aye, sir.
The crew of the Old Wives' Tale clamors around the deck as the ship slows next to the beach. And one by one, they all dive over the side, swimming to the shore and kissing the sand. Camp is set up in just a few hours, with roaring bonfires that keep the crew warm until the sun fully rises. In the heat of the afternoon, several expeditions go out into the woods and return carrying armfuls of a red, spiky fruit that, when peeled, reveal a delicious, sweet center. And they also attract several colonies of ants, which the crew promptly fries up and distributes amongst themselves. Spirits are high as a group gathers around Lilia, who is playing a jaunty tune on a little viola. The crew is very upset about having to get back onto the open water, but now that the food stores have been replenished and then some, the journey is looking less bleak than before. However, Edgar Churchill comes up to Drake Muldoon right before the ship casts off.
Captain, it looks like we've got some rot. I think it might behoove us to remain here for just a day more while we investigate and perhaps repair.
Scat and guff. We don't need this right now, Churchill. The Queen has got to be right around the corner.
The Armada ships are fast, but we have had the wind at our back the whole way. Perhaps one more night on land might be good for the crew.
Drake ponders a moment before finally relenting. Well, all right. If it's good for morale,
And good for the ship.
then it's good for me. Let's careen the old girl and see what the problem is.
Aye, sir. I'll have Bastion organize the penguins.
The crew loses their minds at the news that they're about to spend another night on shore, and the party on the beach is intense. Crew members drinking like their life depends on it. However, several members of the crew are a little more somber. Drake and Bastion among them, as well as Vivian, their minds on the diamond below deck. Lilia, noticing the three having separated themselves, goes over to see what's wrong.
Starting to think those late night visits are a bad idea yet? I see everything.
So it would seem. Lilia, listen. I didn't want to bring the mood down, but if Vivian's calculations are correct, the big rock downstairs demands a sacrifice. I'm just trying to wrap my head around what that would be.
I tried not eating fruit for a while, which was a big sacrifice for me. Maybe we could all do that.
Captain, I didn't mean to be vague before. I mean a living person that you throw to it, subsequently killing them.
I meant who we would kill, Vivian. I understand the idea of a sacrifice. You don't have to rodent-splain to me.
And I recommended one of the penguins.
And I told you that wouldn't happen.
All right. Yes, Lilia, the late night rendezvous have been not a good idea. We are not getting much sleep and we are a little bit testy, I think.
Everybody make a perception check.
20.
26.
14.
12.
Drake and Lilia feel a little tickle by their ankle. And as they look down, they see a little stem has wrapped its way around their ankle, very gently, with a little leaf twirling on the end of it.
I don't like that one bit. Drake pulls out a knife and cuts the vine.
The stem retracts quickly.
I like that even less.
Lilia, you still feel it around your ankle, and it gently begins to tug at you, very softly.
I think I'll decline.
And Lilia swats at it until it releases her.
It does after the first swat, and then pokes up out of the sand just a little ways away, 3 or 4 feet, and just waves its one little leaf.
Hello.
It responds with 2 flaps, as if waving hello.
That's different.
Vivian checks his own ankle for a little vine.
He finds one.
He goes to town on it with his knife.
It retracts quickly as well.
Bastion checks his ankle.
One is just beginning to reach his ankle and is tickling his foot with the little leaf.
Ah! Bastion proceeds to stomp on it as hard as he can.
When Bastion picks his foot up to stomp on the vine, it pulls the vine up and out of the sand, and you see that the vine extends all the way into the forest, all the way up the beachhead. As you stomp on it, it also retracts.
Drake rushes over towards the rest of the crew. Quick, everybody, check your ankles for vines.
Everybody looks around, very confused. Nobody finds any vines around their feet. Kip Lockerbie yells at Drake from a log, drunk as a skunk.
Hey, Captain, there's no vines over here. I don't report a anything.
As you were.
Bargain.
Drake walks back to the trio. Well, I guess it was just us.
4 little leaves are poking out of the sand, waving in unison, like 4 fingers.
We can all agree it's very unsettling, right?
Well, I've seen worse, but it ain't my favorite.
I'm going to regret this. Hello? Flap your leaves if you can understand me.
The leaves flap.
Nope, that was awful. I hated that, Captain. But yes, they can understand us. I hate this island.
I mean, should we see where it goes?
I have a quick question. Before I was rudely interrupted by a grasping vine, how long do we have with the big diamond before it's going to be a problem? Vivian, you probably know.
The vines go still for a moment, and then they begin to frantically move around as if searching for something in the sand. The vines eventually smooth out a part of the sand and draw an arrow towards the forest, and begin to sweep the sand around the arrow towards the forest, as if emphasizing their point.
Well, I mean, we can't not listen to the little vines. I'm kidding. Let's burn it all the way to the source. Drake lights a torch, grabs a handful of vine, and goes to burn it with his torch.
Vivian's paw shoots up and clasps around Drake's wrist. I can't believe I'm about to say this, Captain, but don't burn stuff.
But they're so creepy.
Aye, but hear me out. A few of us didn't even notice them things wrapping round our ankles. If they wanted to pull us into the forest, they would have already. And when it comes to magic, it's important to know when you're being given a sign.
And a very clear one at that.
But sometimes the clearest traps are right in front of your face.
Right. But if we're waiting for the boat to be fixed anyway, I just didn't think you would be scared of some vines. You're a pretty fearless captain.
Yeah, I understand what you're trying to do here. Okay, vines, we'll talk. Drake pulls the vines level with his face. We're going to have a very candid conversation. Flap once if you understand.
The vines flap.
Good. Now you're not trying to assault us, are you?
The vines shake back and forth as if to say no.
Captain, if we are doing this, do you mind if I ask something?
Sure. And Drake holds the vines over to Bastion's face.
Hello, vines.
Get on with it, man. They're just vines.
So you know how to make an arrow? Do you know how to write letters?
The vines don't really react, seeming almost unsure.
Alright, so you know the words that I am saying right now?
The vines nod, sort of.
Alright.
He's kind of hard to understand at first. I get it.
Drake pulls the vines back. So what is it, like some sort of large tree person and you're gonna ambush us in the woods and bash us on the heads? I understand what your game is, you little vines.
The vines make a heart shape.
Aww.
Don't be so easily swayed, Lilia.
I've got a question. Vivian looks up at the vines in Drake's hand. Are you leading us to stuff?
The vines hesitantly nod.
Good question, Vivian. Like good stuff?
While interrogating the vines, they hear a voice call out from behind them.
Hey, what are you guys doing?
A very drunk Harris Grumps, a little anteater that is in charge of the livestock on the Old Wives' Tale, stumbles towards the pirates, a half-empty bottle of rum in his hand.
You just yelling at leaves?
Vivian reaches out and telepathically communicates with Harris. Hey, Harris. Finish that bottle of rum right now.
Roll a persuasion check for me.
24.
Okay.
Harris Grumps turns, begins downing his bottle, only makes it about 5 steps before collapsing face first in the sand.
Right, let's go.
All right, vines. We have struck a hesitant truce. But if you cross me, that torch will come out, do you understand? I'm very good at lighting torches. Okay. Drake begins to follow the vines, pulling them up slowly out of the ground as he does.
Or let Edgar know we're leaving, so at least someone responsible knows that we could be not coming back, but I don't think so.
Lilia closes her eyes and after a moment's concentration, telepathically communicates with Edgar.
Hi Edgar, don't freak out. It's me, Lilia, from the top part of the ship. Vivian, Bastion and the captain and I are going into the jungle for a bit. We don't quite know for what, but we should be back soon. I hope. Love you. Bye.
Oh. All right, bye. Be careful. Also, for future reference, I know you can do this. We've done this before. You don't need to warn me each time.
Well, I just think, sometimes it's scary when Vivian pops into people's heads, and I don't want to give off that kind of vibe,
I appreciate that, Lilia.
Everyone's head is their own private sanctuary.
The four begin to follow the vines into the jungle off the beach. As they do, the foliage gets thick and begins to rise off the ground as the trees get taller, their trunks get thicker, and the brush gets more difficult to move through.
This reminds me of home. This is nice.
A little blue light floats in front of Lilia's face.
Oh!
And Lilia waves her hand in front of it.
It does a little spiral, flies about 5 feet away from Lilia, and then it bursts and blossoms into a full blue silhouette of an Armada soldier, weapon drawn, facing away from Lilia, and he begins to trudge through the brush, as if leading the pirates deeper into the jungle.
Drake pulls up the vines to his face again. Was that you, or something else entirely?
The vines are now unresponsive.
Great. Drake drops the vines and begins to follow the ghost.
Before he can start walking, a blue figure passes through Drake. Another Armada soldier, walking onward, weapon drawn as well.
That feels weird.
Alright, sorted. I'm cursed. This is going to be fun. And downs his flask.
As the group walks on, they see several more blue ghost soldiers walk along with them. They never acknowledge the pirates' presence, but sometimes they'll speak to each other. However, when they do, it's in muffled, unintelligible tones. The speaking almost sounds like it's being refracted, like light. Finally, the vines lead you out into an open clearing where a massive tree has dug its way into a cliffside. Carved into the trunk is a large wooden door, next to which is an open window from which a light shines within.
Well, let's see if anybody's home. Drake stealthily creeps up to the window and peeks in.
Roll a stealth check.
23.
Drake, you peek your head in the window and see a very dirty-looking cabin filled with only the barest of necessities, and you see a hunched figure over a little pot on an open fire. The figure is muttering to himself and seems to be covered in a brown fur with a long paddly tail. its imagery.
Drake slithers back to the group. It's a beaver. I hate beavers.
Ugh, that makes two of us.
Well, shall we kick his door down and see if he has anything valuable?
As the group peers around, they notice that the ghosts have disappeared.
Captain, we do not need to kick any doors down. We were invited.
I thought we were operating on the idea that the vines were talking to us independently. Is that not what was happening? We were addressing the vines directly, and they didn't speak English.
The past is the past. Let's go rob this beaver, Captain.
Well, we should talk to him first. You never know, he could have a good story.
Talking's part of robbing.
I'm with Vivian on this one. We are pirates, after all. Drake unsheaths his cutlass. And I, Salting, hate beavers.
Vivian follows close behind, dagger drawn.
Oh no! You scared me! Oh! A large beaked face turns around as a platypus stands up on its feet, using its paddle tail to hoist itself up.
Oh, it's a platypus. And a nude one at that.
Blimey.
What are you doing in my home?
Well, that all depends, Mr. Nude Platypus. Did you send those vines?
Those vines, oh my goodness.
The platypus looks down into the fire again.
It's been so very long, Mother. You haven't sent anyone to me in so very long.
The platypus scuttles up to Drake Muldoon, gets right up in his personal space. The smell is overwhelming.
The mother has sent another. Ha!
Vivian looks around for any tufts of hair the platypus might have left on the floor of this cabin.
There are plenty.
Vivian starts stuffing those into his pockets.
Are you here to fix what they have wrought?
Yes?
The mother has sent you all to me. To help her. To free her.
Vivian is now looking around the cabin, picking things up willy-nilly, putting them back down, examining everything to see what's worth taking.
Vivian, why don't you put yourself to good use and poke around in this nude platypus's head? It's what we pay you for.
All right, wait a tick, Captain. Vivian sniffs at a tin bucket and makes a sour face before tossing it over his shoulder and walking up to the platypus. Vivian picks a paw up to the platypus's forehead and taps him with one finger, casting Detect Thoughts.
Vivian, reading somebody's mind is often very similar, like looking through books in a library. The first thing that you notice is that the information in this platypus's head is at least 6 times the normal amount for any other mind you've ever read.
Salt, mate, you been to school?
An image flashes before your eyes, Vivian. A very small platypus in a bright red cloak, just 5 years old, waddling off down an ancient marble pathway. You do not recognize the clothing, nor do you recognize any of the architecture.
Vivian's gonna fast forward a couple years.
You see some of this platypus's adulthood, training to be a ship hand in an ancient army, becoming shipwrecked on this island, and eating the red spiky fruit from the vines. After that, the memories are all the same. Just days and days of eating the red spiky fruit on the beach, slowly becoming less and less acclimated with the customs of civilization, until the wild creature that you see before you is all that's left. Throughout these memories, you catch glimpses of a beautiful cathedral, seemingly underground, with vines lining the walls and a beautiful shrine in the center, like an altar. A sparkling, placid pool surrounds the altar, and you feel a warm, loving presence. In this creature's most recent memories, all you see is black smoke, an armada uniform walking past, and bright red eyes shining through the black smoke.
Say there, fella, I got 2 questions for you.
Yes,
One's about that black smoke you saw, recent-like. What was that all about?
yes. Smog is bad. Smog is deep. Smog is bad for lungs.
And that fella in that black and gold uniform, what did he want?
He grabs your shoulders.
The black and gold are greedy ones. They are greedy ones. They have sealed away the mother.
Alright, that's a perfect segue into me next question. I'll ask it as a 2-parter. Firstly, you got any nice stuff?
I have wife. He gestures over your shoulder against the wall opposite.
Vivian, thumb still on the platypus's head, turns around and looks where he's pointing.
What you actually see is a coconut with 2 clamshells that form a beak in the front, all impaled on a stick. Leaves make up hair. That is wife.
Oh, my hog.
Vivian sighs and looks at the floor. I don't know what I expected. He looks back at the platypus. All right, mate. Where'd they seal away Mother?
He gestures to himself. Take you to her.
Vivian tries to find out where it is by reading his mind.
You can see that it's only a few hundred feet behind the hut. He notices you looking up the path, and he says, You will need me to interpret.
Oh, interpret. Someone has been to school. Let's go. Vivian turns to leave the cabin.
Before we go, what is your name?
Name. I had a name. Long ago.
Way to go, you broke him, Bastion!
I am me. Me. I have always referred to me as me. Me.
Vivian, every time you look into someone's mind, you never even think to figure out what their name was. It is so rude.
It's not true. That one time that new crew member was giving us the runaround, Captain had me pick around in his brain. We found out he gave us a fake one.
Alright, hello me. I'm Bastion. I'm cursed. Take us to your mother.
Heroes for the mother.
The platypus is very excited and begins to explain the best he can.
The mother is good. The mother gives us her fruit so that we may live. I have lived eating only the mother's fruit. Eternal life it gives you, with nary a repercussion. Yes, wife, I was getting to that.
That reminds me. Drake pulls his scarf off of his head and holds it at arm's length to the platypus. Cover your shame. We are civilized folk here.
The platypus takes the cloth but doesn't know what to do with it.
Drake grabs it back and ties it around his waist. God, having to do everything myself.
What is purpose of this?
To cover your nether bits, sir.
Me begins to lead you out of the hut. Before he opens the door, he says goodbye to his wife.
Goodbye, wife. Back soon.
And as he swings the door open, a tall blue figure stands in the doorway. Instantly recognizable is the Tiger Commander Bosch. He looks right through the party, peering into the hut, and then calls behind him, and in a warbly voice says,
Send word to Ezra that passage is safe.
Bosch lights a fire, holds up a torch in the middle of the room, and appears to set an equally ghostly flame to the various wooden furniture around the room. Then he disappears in a puff of blue spores. Me looks sad for a moment.
The black and golds burned my house, but mother grew me a new one. And she saved wife!
Me looks right at Lilia.
You see the blue ones?
I thought we all did.
It is the mother's fruit. Makes one sensitive.
That's nice. Your wife is lovely.
He beams at Lilia.
Oh, she is lovely. My lovely wife.
Drake leans into Lilia. Might want to send a message to the rest of the crew to not eat any more of that fruit.
And Lilia closes her eyes before saying to Churchill on the boat,
Hi, don't eat any more fruit. It'll make you see ghosts. Love you. Bye.
Oh, Lilia! Scared the devil out of me. Did you say stop eating the fruit?
We cut to the interior of the old wives' tale, where several husks of fruit are laying at Edgar Churchill's bedside. We then see a wastepaper basket, also filled with husks. Edgar turns to a hippo to his left. Stop eating that. Cutting back to the island.
How did you meet your wife?
'Tis a wonderful tale, which I will regale you with in its entirety on the way to the big door. Come with me!
He slides out of his hut and leads you on.
One day, I was picking fruit, and so was she.
Me the platypus quickly leads you to the giant stone face of a cliff. There are various runes on the door, all completely unrecognizable, and interestingly, there are 6 levels of shelves. The shelves are about 5 feet long, and each one is basically stacked right on top of the other. On the ground below the shelves are 6 figurines. One of a lion, one of a dolphin, one of a cow, one of a rabbit, one of a frog, and one of an iguana, carved out of stone. The platypus runs up to the runes, rubs them with his hand, and says to the group,
An ancient language in their proper place.
Drake walks up and inspects the shelves for any indication as to which figurine goes where.
There are no markings on any of the shelves.
Well, it's clearly a riddle. Which figurine and which shelf? I mean, it could be alphabetical. Cow, dolphin, frog.
I doubt it, sir. This is an ancient language. They're not thinking about modern alphabet.
I I've got an idea.
And Lilia goes over to the wall and puts all of the statues together on the topmost shelf.
There's a boom. A seam in the door appears, and it begins to sink down into the earth with a low grumble.
You are the ones the mother sent! So smart and clever!
If she had had any, Lilia would have tossed her hair.
Hog pendant, she terrifies me.
Drake sparks another torch and hands each of his companions one.
Oh, that riddle was, it had like a message and everything. It was very nice. This mother might be nice, huh?
Or she might be a giant tree that's waiting to ambush us. Don't let your guard down, Bastion.
Too late, Captain. He's soft as a goose's tail spot.
Viviana, I could actually punch a hole right through your head.
But you won't do it.
He's got you there.
Did you learn nothing from that riddle? We're all the same and we're all equal, so shut up, both of you.
The clever one speaks again! Words of wisdom and honey!
All right, clever one, why don't you lead the way?
There's really only one way to go. It's just a staircase that's going down. But yes, I will. This way.
The group begins to descend the staircase, heading straight down, stepping over a multitude of vines that cover both the stairs, walls, and ceiling. There is no light at the far end of this tunnel, and as the group descends only 50 feet, the starlight behind them disappears, and the group is in utter darkness, save for the torches, casting approximately 45 feet of light outward. There's a blue glow far, far down the tunnel that appears to be getting closer to you. As it gets closer, it gets a little bit bigger, and details begin to fill out until just 10 feet away from you stands Archpriest Ezra, blue and translucent. He streams past and through you with scores of war priests following him, and he calls out the tunnel.
It's here. Inform the Queen. She'll want to see for herself.
In a puff, the blue spores dissipate, and the dim light fades, leaving only darkness.
The eagle was the one. He's the one who sealed Mother away.
Are these things ghosts? Or are they the mother's memories?
It is the mother's way to explain why she needs you. She is very excited. You must have said something to her that changed her mood.
Wait, what do you mean to her? We haven't met her yet, have we?
Were you not brought here by the mother?
The vines.
The mother!
Oh, Hog. Lilia, you mentioned something about our cargo, didn't you? In front of those little vines.
Come to think of it, I definitely did. My bad. Didn't know that they were listening actively.
The mother hears all on the island. Mother is the island.
Has Mother ever mentioned Big Scary Rock?
Big Scary Rock?
You know what has sealed Mother away? The big scary rock! The big scary rock! Truly, the Mother has sent you to rid us of the big scary rock!
He begins to pull you further down the tunnel, and as he even gets you just 5 or 10 more feet down, an acrid stink fills your nose, and you notice just a little bit of black smog trailing upward.
Please, you must help.
Vivian, who has dark vision, scans the room for a source of the stench.
There is no source for the smoke in this hallway, but you can tell that it's coming from the bottom of the staircase, which only seems to be about another 100 feet down.
It's coming from the bottom of that staircase. Vivian continues onward, also looking for stuff he can take.
You notice a few stray mushrooms around.
Vivian grabs them and pockets them.
Is the air around here poisonous?
No, it is the scary rock that is poisonous. Mother is pure. Mother is clean.
What's Mother like when she's not trapped?
Me seems confused.
Mother is mother. Mother has kept me alive for 600 years.
You look great. But I mean, more along the lines of, now she's trapped and underground. Normally, is she like up on land and she does nice things? Stuff like that.
Mother is the island, and the big scary rock has trapped her.
He says that very carefully, doing his absolute best to explain clearly.
I think we know enough. We may not know a lot about this mother, but the Armada went through a lot of trouble to seal her away, so we should free her. Right, Captain?
Sounds like something we would do.
On the other side of a delicate wooden door, you hear a splashing and a low hum, and the thin trail of smoke above you gets a little bit darker.
The big scary rock knows we're here.
Drake, as quietly and stealthily as possible, peeks into the door. 25.
The door silently opens, and the low hum gets quite a bit louder. As you peek your head in, you see what was once a gorgeously decorated cathedral-like room, with a raised platform that winds its way around the chamber, leading to an altar. All of this is surrounded by water, so the thin pathway is constantly damp with the swaying of the water from a breeze unseen. The second thing you notice is the thick cloud of black smoke above. Deep, deep black, as thick as can be, and absolutely rank in odor. As your eyes trace the clouds and you look down, you see a stone statue of a jackal, sitting cross-legged in the water with its hands on its knees, black smoke billowing upward from a hole in the top of its head.
Drake slowly and silently closes the door. Me? When I said big scary rock, you weren't talking about a phylactery, were you?
A ficatlery.
Yep, that's what I thought. There's a big scary living statue in there. How should we go about doing this, chaps?
Well, I think the first step is uncareening the ship, and then we'll need to get the rest of the crew aboard, and we'll just...
Me interrupts enthusiastically, ready to unfold his plan.
The big scary rock is strong as 50 men.
And then after that, we'll want to hoist the sail, and
Other heroes have come before you and been struck down.
then we'll weigh anchor, and we'll be on our way.
But the big scary rock was not always the big scary rock. He was once the guardian of the mother, until that eagle corrupted him.
I'll probably want to take a few of these fruits to remember this place by.
You can be quiet and sneak past the big scary rock, or you can challenge him. But the smoke, the smog, must stop, so Mother can breathe.
Well, I've been looking for a time to use this. Drake pulls out a sealed pouch, unties it, and a horrible stench erupts from it. I know it's bad, but take a gander at this. Drake reaches in and unfolds a long silk cloak, and as he throws it around himself, he completely disappears.
The stench of the cloak is strong, and you can still discern it from the black smoke ahead, but it is likely that in the chamber where the smoke is concentrated, the smell will go unnoticed.
Drake pulls it down so that his head is showing. I got it from that sea hag.
Me, there are various ways for us to sneak in, but how are we supposed to stop the smoke?
He shrugs.
Right.
I'll just have to improvise when I get in there. Now, this is very important. If I holler, you'll know he found me. And you bring hell. You understand?
Aye, Captain.
All right. By the way, where's Lilia?
From where Lilia was standing,
I did the invisibility thing too. It was a good idea. Now we're together.
All right, good. We can watch each other's backs. Drake pulls the cloak over his head, reaches out and finds Lilia's hand, clasps it, and then stealthily moves through the door.
Both of you make a stealth check, please.
26.
14.
The door creaks open very quietly and closes behind. The statue makes absolutely no movement, just continues to pour the black smog into the room. The once white altar in the center of the room is covered in soot, and several old, decrepit vines appear to be crumbling around it. As the two begin to walk forward on the path surrounded by water, now a murky brown, Lilia's foot accidentally dips a single toe into the water, making the quietest splash noise. The statue's eyes flash red. For just a moment, smoke begins to billow more intensely, and then, as Drake holds Lilia still, the statue's eyes dim and the smog production returns to normal.
Drake takes point, single file, leading Lilia down the path.
It's a straight shot to the altar. The massive stone golem is sitting in the water cross-legged, but still sticks up about 6 feet above the water.
Drake quickly surveys the entire room for anything to plug the hole in the golem's head.
There are a few blunt objects around, but nothing that looks like it's specifically designed to plug the head of the golem.
Lilia begins to quietly and delicately wipe off the sides of the altar facing away from the golem, so she remains hidden from it, trying to reveal any sort of inscription or clue as to help them.
The inscriptions are all in a language you don't recognize, but as you clear a little bit of the soot away, a vine reaches down, ancient and petrified, touches your paw, and a little flower blossoms out of the top of it.
Drake seamlessly and silently ducks his head into the water to survey underneath the surface for anything to plug the hole.
Make a stealth check.
26.
You don't see much. The water is pretty cloudy and mostly barren. You do notice that the golem appears to be chained to the floor with a long spool. The chain is connected to a big anchor lodged in the floor and connects to the golem's back.
Drake retracts his head from the pool and looks for something that he could fill with water.
You find a large metal basin just next to the altar.
Drake uses the cloak to shield him and Lilia from the creature, and motions to the water with one finger and to the basin, and then points at the hole in the golem's head.
Lilia mimics dumping the bucket on top of her head, giving Drake a questioning look.
Drake, you register this because Lilia's invisibility has worn off after the minute that it lasts.
Drake's eyes go wide and he points down at Lilia and points at his eyes to motion that she is visible.
Lilia looks down and nods her head.
Drake begins a relatively intricate pantomime.
Roll a performance check to try to convey your message to Lilia.
14.
Lilia, can you make an insight check?
14.
Lilia understands the message.
In mime, Drake conveys that Lilia should take the basin and then dimension door above the golem and pour in the water, with him covering the basin from the front with the cloak.
Lilia gives Drake a thumbs up and reaches down on the floor, opening up a newly materialized trapdoor.
While she does that, Drake moves the sheet forward between the golem and the altar.
She slowly reaches into the water with a bucket.
Make a stealth check.
19.
The golem makes no reaction.
Slowly, Lilia reaches the bucket into the water, collects a pailful, brings it over to the dimension door, the other half of which has opened up right above the golem's head. And with a flick of her wrist, she dumps the bucket.
The water disappears into the floor, reappears above the golem's head, and splashes downward directly into the hole billowing smoke.
And seeing that her aim was correct, Lilia keeps going.
The golem's eyes flash a bright red, and the hum starts to get louder and deeper. But then there's a weird kerchunk sound from within the golem, and the smoke begins to sputter as more and more water begins to fill the hole until it's completely submerged from within. The golem begins to move very slowly, getting to its feet, and walks around splashing in the pool almost as if drunk, feeling around on the top of its head. Back outside, Me is in the middle of a rousing story about his wife.
And I had said I hadn't gotten anything for her birthday either, but we both got each other a gift as a surprise!
This is me hollering. I'm hollering now.
Ah, thank Hog. Vivian is through the door.
Bastion follows.
The golem is stumbling around, careening back and forth.
Lilia quickly closes the dimension door, raises her hands, and a delicate green glow emits from them as she casts fairy fire on the golem.
A bright green outline forms around the massive, wildly swinging golem.
All right, time to punch a stone. Bastion runs forward right onto the stone jackal and unloads with his fists. 21, 24, 28, key point, flurry of blows, 25.
4 hits.
34 points of damage.
Bastion rains down punches on the jackal's face, chipping stone, and even breaking the tip off of the nose.
Drake unsheathes his cutlass and charges the beast, attempting to slide between its legs and slash its feet. 24. 32 damage as Drake's cutlass gets a huge chunk off of his leg. Ha ha!
The metal cutlass collides with the stone, and for a moment the sword rattles, ringing uselessly, until there's a delayed blast against the creature's leg, shattering the stone around where the sword impacted.
Looks like he's on his last leg.
Bastion and Drake crash into the water about 3.5 feet deep after their assault on the golem. The big stone jackal head looks downward, and its eyes flash red once again. A shockwave ripples the water outward, and you feel yourselves reel back. Both of you make a wisdom save.
13.
16.
Both failures. Drake and Bastion feel their muscles almost congeal and slow as they attempt to move laboriously through the water. Shifting its focus upward, the golem limps forward, lumbering past Bastion and Drake and heading right for Lilia, who is standing right next to the discarded basin.
Vivian attacks the golem's good leg, casting 2 Eldritch Blasts. 27, 27 again.
2 hits.
For 24 damage. Both of Vivian's hands glow green, and he claps them together, shooting one giant beam at the golem's leg.
Even with 2 massive dents in its legs, it continues to move past Vivian, heading right for Lilia.
Lilia's eye goes wide as she stares at the golem. Get away from me! And she throws the pot at it, while doing so, casting Thunderwave at 5th level.
The golem fails the constitution save. The pot clangs uselessly against the jackal's brow, but directly following it, a massive shockwave sends the golem reeling backward, and it takes 24 damage. The top half of the jackal's head has been blasted apart, but the construct hasn't given up yet.
Bastion trudges towards the jackal and slowly takes a defensive stance.
Bastion, roll a save to see if you can break the slowing effect.
17.
As Bastion begins to try to lift himself up onto the pathway, something in his muscles shifts, and he feels himself released from his lethargy.
Drake, using all of his strength, forges ahead as far as his strained muscles will take him, and takes the dodge action, holding a defensive stance.
The golem shakes its head, takes a runner's stance, and launches itself at Lilia, bringing its big stone hands down hard on the pathway. 25, 21. Both rocky fists slam Lilia against the adjacent wall, and she takes 50 damage. The golem turns on Vivian.
Vivian hucks 2 more Eldritch Blasts at the creature. 17, 23.
2 hits.
Vivian deals 21 damage and finishes up by taking the dodge action.
This Eldritch Blast takes a massive chunk out of the thing's chest. You start to see lots of little cogs whirring around inside.
Lilia picks herself up off the ground and gazes up at the golem, blood now streaming down her nose.
I've seen how you work with sound. Let's see how you work with metal.
And Lilia casts Cloud of Daggers on the upper half of the creature's body.
Magical shards begin to materialize in the air around the golem and begin sticking themselves inside of the cogs and gears.
For 18 damage.
The golem begins to shudder and moan from within, resting a closed fist on the pathway to try to keep itself up.
Bastion, feeling invigorated once more, quickly runs to the jackal, positioning himself between it and Lilia, and punches every exposed gear that he can see. 25.
Hit.
17.
Hit.
Flurry of blows. 23.
Another hit.
Nat 20. 38 points of damage.
Describe it.
With every punch, Bastion is ripping out gear after gear, exposing more of the stone and the machinery within, until finally he sees one gleaming cog, grabs it, and tears it out swiftly, hurling it to the floor.
The golem freezes, lurches forward, and begins to tip over, just about crushing Vivian as it slams into the ground.
Vivian scrambles out of the way just in time.
Oi, Bastion! You almost killed me!
From the doorway, you hear an excited shout.
You have freed Mother!
Me comes streaming into the hall, immediately beginning to cough as the black smoke fills his lungs.
What can we do about this smoke?
Lilia slowly trudges over to the altar and begins to clean it off, making sure that the entire surface is sparkling clean.
A few vines begin to wrap their way around the altar, blossoming little flowers as they do.
See, that's so much better.
Lilia, you have done very good work today, and I know you are very tired, but maybe you could use some high winds in here?
Oh,
and Lilia lightly faces her palms up to the sky, purses her lips, and blows.
A swirling gust fills this cavernous cathedral and hastens the smoke up the stairs, clearing the whole room. The vines begin to cover everything, wrapping themselves around the pathways, streaming through the water, and right before your eyes, you can see these plants begin to clean the water, and soon it's light blue, crystal clear, and sparkling from the lights on the walls. More vines begin wrapping around the altar, sprouting hundreds of tiny flowers over the top. These flowers begin to change color, and suddenly begin to form a picture. Drawn out in a flower portrait is me the platypus. He pops his head over your shoulders.
The mother wishes to speak to you.
And he walks behind the altar as another vine slithers around his body, and one vine pokes just inside his ear. Me goes still for a moment, shakes his head, and looks at all of you with new intention and purpose.
What can a mother do but thank her children? I'm sorry I'm speaking through this one here. I know his appearance is unsettling. I hope you'll pardon me.
Still exhausted, his muscles spasming oddly, Drake waves his hand as if to say, "You're pardoned."
I owe you a great debt. I think I have the solution to your problem. You spoke of a diamond on the shore, did you not?
I did.
May I ask a question? What color is this diamond? And about how large?
It seems to be made of the darkest color you can imagine, and it's really big.
The mother, through me the platypus, gasps slightly.
So you have it. You have the channeler.
Channeler, we thought it was a phylactery.
It is not a phylactery. At least it wasn't.
On the altar, the flowers begin to waver and change color. And before you is an image of the queen. But this queen isn't like she shows up in the portraits at Emporia. The queen there is a young, beautiful swine who appears well-fed and jolly. But this portrait portrays her sallow, hunched, and with a large half of her face covered by a porcelain mask.
She corrupted the channeler, the one thing keeping everything alive safe. She was a fool. You see, the queen came here seeking power. She could have turned any object into a phylactery to complete her dark tasks. But she sought a powerful item, my diamond channeler, which amplifies the power of my protective spells over the realm of beast. Tell me, have you heard the phrase, when water is black, you must turn back?
Yes. About a week ago, I think that ghost lady mentioned it.
Yes, that is how I knew to contact you for. You have been washed in boons. The black water grows closer every day. Without the diamond, I cannot properly protect us, and the water will consume everything. The land will become poisoned, and the queen will get what she wanted, a world without pirates, or any other living thing.
Well, we can't have that. If we were to give you this channeler, would you be able to fix it?
The mother stops a beat.
I cannot, but I know of one who can.
She looks down at the altar, and the flowers begin to waver and change.
But I fear you may not like it.
Slowly, a blue background forms, and on the blue background, the majestic head of a seahorse woman.
Well, color me salted. It's Val.
Bastion slowly puts his head into his hands. Oh, soaked.
Only the priestess, name, will know how to purify the diamond. She was a guardian here a long time ago, gave up much of her life to do it. I hate to call her back, now that her service is complete, but we have no other option. The Gillish people are further east of here, where the black water has begun to encroach in their waters. I cannot stress this enough. Do not sail on black water. No matter what you do, you shall not survive it.
The mother wipes the altar one more time, and the flowers change color again, this time revealing 2 islands, seemingly in the middle of nothing.
They will be here, near these 2 islands. The line of defense is under the water, but if you speak to the 2 brothers on the island, they should be able to help you. They've helped us in the past.
Got it. One more thing. The channeler is beginning to crack. Vivian here is under the impression that it needs a living sacrifice. Is there any other way?
In its current state, your friend is correct. If it does not receive a sacrifice soon, it will fold in on itself, and the souls will collide and reverberate again, annihilating everything within reach, past any seas, Captain.
Well, then we better find something soon. I don't think our ship can take another blast.
I will repair your ship. My powers should be such that I can in fact make some improvements to the hull.
That would be much appreciated.
I do not want to seem like a tailspot, but when are we going to be free of this? For years I thought that we were making so many decisions free of any of this, and now I think that we were never really free at all.
May I ask you a question, Elephant?
Yes, Mother.
If you made different choices, would the outcome have been better?
The mother sees that Bastion is stumped, and seemingly satisfied, begins to withdraw the vine from Mee's ear. But before she does, she says,
By the way, when you meet those brothers, the W is silent.
In what?
Hello, Me is back!
Oh.
What did Mother tell you?
Well, we'll catch you up on the way out. And Drake limps his way up the stairs. Come on, gang. I have an old flame to introduce you to.
Vivian sighs and follows Drake up the stairs, grumbling to himself. I just want material things, a quiet place to pursue magical knowledge, and swift retribution for my enemies.
I don't really feel like walking back. I'll see you guys on the ship.
And Lilia rests her hand on the altar and whispers,
Thank you for everything.
before opening up another dimension door and going through it, closing it on her way out.
the flowers on the altar wilt, and the vines weakly retract. The fate of Emporia now rests in the hands of Drake Muldoon and the crew of the Old Wives' Tale.
I set upon the ship at dawn, I wouldn't dare be late. Abilities were checked to see if I could pull my weight. For my first meal, a lemon peel, the best I ever ate. The grand old ship began the trip, our fortune we were making. Silver, copper, platinum, gold, I seek the things that can't be sold. The skies were black.
This has been a Hero Club production, produced by Nick Williams and George Primavera, with associate producers Marty Abby Schneider and Dylan McCullum. Voice acting by George Primavera, Nick Williams, Hannah Fagerbakke, Dylan McCullum, and Marty Abby Schneider. Theme song written by Matthew McCullum and performed by Hannah Fagerbakke. Special thanks to Kevin McLeod and Ben Doyle for their incredible music, Mage Hand Press for their genius D&D 5th edition homebrew, and Marty Abby Schneider for his amazing artwork. Thanks for listening, and welcome to the club.
The deck is fine, the rigging line is glistening with dew. I'll count me blessed if I ne'er rest till this world I subdue. In every cove's a treasure trove.
It's all for the taking.
Silver, copper, platinum, gold. I seek the things that can't be sold. I seek the things that can't be sold.
Well, I mean, we can't not listen to the little vines. I'm kidding.
After all, they're cute.
I'm kidding.